Friends, it is Thursday. Welcome back to A Daily Walk. And this is the particular day of the week that we like to take comments that you send. By the way, if you ever want to send a comment, send it in. It may get read right here on the Thursday edition of A Daily Walk. And the comment I want to read to you comes from JC 2091. How you doing there, JC 2091? JC writes, me and my friend both are going through the book of Acts right now. I'm going to let him know about this devotion. Thanks. JC, thank you for letting him know about the devotion that you're going through. Friend, do you have somebody who could benefit from going through the book of Acts with us here on these mornings? Send him a link. Encourage him to come along. And the more the merrier in this case. Well, we pick up now in the 5th chapter of the book of Acts. The church has been established. It has grown from 120 to 3,000 to 5,000 and continuing to multiply. But in the midst of the growth of the church, there's going to be a little bit of opposition that has come through different areas. For one place, it's come through the Sanhedrin. That is those outside the church, opposed to the work that's being done. But also, the devil likes to come in on the inside to try to divide and conquer. And therefore, you need discernment. And we're going to see some amazing discernment here of Peter in Acts chapter 5, a very serious chapter. Notice what it says in chapter 5, verse 1. But a certain man named Ananias, with Sapphira, his wife, sold the possession, and he kept back part of the proceeds, his wife also being aware of it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. Now, at this point, as we mentioned yesterday, people were feeling generous. They wanted to support the work of the ministry. A guy named, his first name was Joseph, and he ended up giving a piece of land. And you know what? They said, we're calling you Barnabas from now on, son of encouragement. And it seems that Ananias and Sapphira, perhaps they wanted a nickname. I don't know. They wanted to jump on that train and give some of the money away, and maybe they would be acknowledged in the church. Maybe they could get a position or recognition. I don't know what their motive was, but I'm going to find out here in these next few verses that it was impure. So Ananias and Sapphira, they had a piece of land. They sold it for a certain amount, and then they gave a certain amount to the apostles. But what happened after that? It says here, verse 3, but Peter said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit and keep back part of the price of the land for yourself? While it remained, was it not your own? And after it was sold, was it not in your own control? Why have you conceived this thing in your heart? You've not lied to men, but to God. Wow. Amazing that Peter would say that. This man brings this donation, lays it at the feet of the apostles, a good portion of money. And I'm sure that this was not the response that this man was planning to hear. This must have come as a shock. But there was something going on in that man's heart that Peter was able to discern by the Spirit, that his motives were not pure. And therefore he says to him, basically, Satan filled your heart. What happened here? It appears that Ananias, along with his wife, offered a portion of the proceeds, making it seem like it was everything. But in reality, they had lied. And it wasn't so much that they kept back part of it for themselves. As Peter said, it was in their control. That wasn't the problem. The problem was they wanted it to appear like something that it wasn't. They lied. And God gave Peter a word of wisdom, really a word of knowledge to discern the real intention and motive behind what Ananias was doing. And I want you to see something, that when he says to Ananias that he lied to the Holy Spirit, did you see that Peter said, you have not lied to men, verse 4, but to God? In other words, Peter refers to the Holy Spirit as deity, as God. You didn't lie to man, Ananias, when you did this. You lied to God, the Holy Spirit. Isn't it amazing that the Lord has ways of revealing things that we wouldn't normally know? This is a gift of the Spirit, by the way, where God revealed something to Peter that he didn't have knowledge of before Ananias stood before him. And he was able to call it out and to confront it. Well, what happened to Ananias after he was confronted? Look what it says in verse 5. Then Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and breathed his last. So great fear came upon all those who heard these things. And the young men arose and wrapped him up, carried him out, and buried him. That's a little intense for the church. I mean, wow. I mean, the guy just kept back a part of the money. He's just gonna die. It seems that there was a pretty radical purity to the early church, and it almost just set the precedent for. I mean, you'd really think about joining this church. I mean, you want to be a part of the church in Acts and in Jerusalem. You might want to think twice about that one. Don't come there with false motives. Don't come there with under pretense to do something, for yourself or whatever, in terms of like lying is what he did. And the Lord dealt with it pretty radically in one moment. Just Ananias was taken out and buried. Well, what about Sapphira, his wife? Did she know about it? Verse 7, it says, now about 3 hours later. So his body is in the grave. 3 hours later, the wife comes in, not knowing what had happened. And Peter answered her, tell me whether you sold the land for so much. And she said, yes, for so much. Oh. Here's her opportunity to come clean, to get right, to not side with her husband who was deceptive. But you find out she was a part of it. And she said, yeah, we sold it for so much. Verse 9, then Peter said, how is it that you've agreed together to test the Spirit of the Lord? Look, the feet of those who have buried your husband are at the door, and they will carry you out. Then immediately she fell down at his feet, breathed her last, and the young men came in, found her dead, carrying her out, buried her by her husband. So great fear came upon all the church and upon all those who heard these things. I could see how that would be a real thing. I mean, that would be fearful. What's the lesson here? Don't lie. Don't lie to God. Be honest. Be truthful. The wages of sin, the price, it's death. In this case, literal death. The Holy Spirit knows. He sees, he understands, he loves, he guides, he directs, he convicts. But it's important that we walk in truth. And the truth sets us free. God bless you, and we'll see you